Today we're going to be talking about ratio and proportion. A ratio is a comparison of two numbers which are measured in the same units. So for instance, if you have the fraction 3/4, that's one way you can write a ratio. You can also write it with a colon, 3:4, and you can also write it with the word 2, 3/2, and all of them are read as the ratio 3:4. Now, next you're given this series of circles and squares and circles and squares and triangles, and we want to write a ratio of circles to squares. So we're going to count up how many circles there are, and there are 3. And how many squares are there? There are 6. So we can write that as a ratio of 3:6, 3/6. You can write it as a fraction, 3/6 if you like, but we also want to reduce if we can, and 3 to 6 reduces to 1 to 2. Write a ratio of triangles to circles. Well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles, and there are 3 circles, so we have a ratio of 4 to 3. This one, write a ratio of squares to all figures. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares, and if you were to count up all the figures, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that would be a ratio of 6 to 13. So now let's move on to the next page. We are simplifying ratios. We have a ratio of 20 centimeters to 4 meters. Now the thing is, we have to have all of the units be the same. And so we can't have both centimeters and meters in the same ratio. So what I recommend doing is change to smaller units. Now, that's usually an easier way to go. So the smaller units, if you look at centimeters and meters, centimeters are smaller. So you're going to ask yourself, how many centimeters are there in a meter? And there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So you are going to multiply that 4 meters by 100 to change it to centimeters. So basically, you are going to have 20 centimeters over 400 centimeters, which we've printed down below. And if we go to reduce that, you can divide each of these numbers, the numerator and the denominator, by 20, and we get 1/20th. Now this next one, if we want to change, or if we want to simplify the ratio 6 feet to 18 inches, we need to have all the units the same, change it to the smaller units. And so basically what we want to know is how many inches are there in a foot? Because the smaller units are inches, so we want to change feet to inches. Well, there's 12 inches in 1 foot. So we're going to multiply the 6 by 12. And we get 72 inches over 18 inches. Now, we want to see if we can reduce that. And so 72 over 18, you can divide both 72 and 18 by 18. And we end up with the ratio of 4:1. Now, let's look at this problem. The perimeter of rectangle ABCD is 60 centimeters. So we want to label the vertices ABCD. It's 60 centimeters. The ratio of side AB to BC is 3:2. Find the width and the length. Now, what that basically means is that you've got some number. The length, AB, you would multiply that number by 3. For B, to get the width, you'd multiply that same number by 2. That's what we're saying, the ratio, that's why we're saying that the ratio of AB to BC is 3:2. So we can think of it, because we don't know what the number is, as just being x. So if the ratio of AB to BC is 3 to 2, that means AB has length 3x and BC has width 2x or length 2x. Now we also know that the opposite sides are the same in a rectangle, so DC would have to be 3x and AD would have to be 2x. They'd have to match up. Well, we know the perimeter is 60 centimeters. So if you add up all those sides, 2x plus 3x plus 2x plus 3x, we get 60. Combining our like terms, we end up with 10x equals 60. And then to solve it, just divide each side by 10, and we get that x is 6. So if x is 6, the way we find the length of side AB is we say 3 times 6, which gives us 18. So there is the length of side AB. And the width, which is 2x, we get by saying 2 times 6, which gives us 12. So the width and the length of that rectangle is 12 and 18. Oh, and I believe it is centimeters. So now let's move on. The measure in triangle JKL are in the extended ratios of 1 to 2 to 3. Now, basically what we mean to say here is the measure of the angles. So let's just insert that here. The measure of the angles in triangle JKL are in the extended ratio 1 to 2 to 3. Find the measures of the angles. So that's the same thing as saying one angle is equal to 1x, one angle is 2x, and the third angle is 3x. That's all that means. Now we know that all of the angles in a triangle have to add up to 180 degrees. So if I add 1x plus 2x plus 3x, I get 180. That just gives me an equation to solve. Combining my x's on the left, I have 6x equals 180. And then, dividing each side by 6, I get the x is 30. Well, that means that this angle 1x would be 1 times 30, which is just 30 degrees. This other angle, 2x, would be 2 times 30, which is 60 degrees. And the third angle, 3x, would be 3 times 30, which is 90 degrees. And sure enough, those three angles do add up to 180, if you wanted to check it. Now, a proportion is an equation that states two ratios are equal. So for instance, A over B equals C over D. The numbers in the upper left and lower right hand spots, A and D, are called the extremes. The numbers in the lower left and the upper right spots, in this case B and C, are called the means. These are just special names given to the numbers that occupy those positions. The product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. And this is basically what you see when you cross multiply. Now, I know you've all done this before. Now, we're going to refresh your memory on this. I know you've heard the term cross multiply, but this is what happens when you cross multiply. You're using the idea that the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. Let's move on. So, we go to solve this proportion. What do? We cross multiply. So we're going to multiply the extremes together, 4 times 7. Then we multiply the means together, 5 times x. And it really doesn't matter which one you do first. Okay? Well, this is how we get this answer. 4 times 7 is 28. 5 times x is 5x. Okay? Then dividing each side by 5, you get x is equal to 5.6. Now let's look at this one. Same concept. We're saying 3 over y plus 2 is equal to 2 over y. Product of the means equals the product of the extremes. So just all that means is cross multiply. You don't even really have to think about that rule. Just cross multiply. So 3 times y is equal to 2 times. Now you have to use your parentheses here because you're saying 2 times that whole quantity of y plus 2. Now to get rid of those parentheses, so we can get ready to solve this equation, we're going to distribute. So we're going to say 2 times y is 2y. 2 times 2 is 4. So we have 3y equals 2y plus 4. We want to get all the y's on the same side. So you see this is what we had up here. 3y equals 2y plus 4. So we're going to subtract 2y from each side. So I have y equals, 2i's cancel, and I have y equals 4. Okay, so there's a little refresher for you on solving proportions. That's it for today. We're going to be working on this quite a bit in class. Do come in with your questions. Thank you for joining me today.